Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elevating Your Life. So happy to have you with us today. I am really thrilled to share an amazing guest today, and he with an amazing message. I have with us today Spike, and it's Addison Lloyd Adams. And he has a history in the service of law as an attorney, assistant attorney general, and judge, and currently part of the senior judge program in the state of Colorado. And we are going to be talking about a book that Spike published. It is called The Mask. This book was written by Spike's son, Clayton Marshall Adams. The Mask is an allegorical tale that touches upon our human frailties and inspires us to find our inner truth and dares us to be more courageous than we can imagine. Beautifully illustrated, it compels us to ponder important social issues such as bullying and body image, as well as the meaning of beauty and truth. It's just a fabulous, beautiful book. So first off, welcome, Spike. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paul. It is truly an honor to be here with you. I am so looking forward to our conversation about Clayton and his book. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, so happy to have you and share your story. Well, let's begin with the story of Clayton and this. Tell us about this beautiful book that he wrote and that you published.
The well springs really for the Mask, Clayton's story, came about because Clayton took his life. It was September 17, 2015, that he died. It was after his memorial service that my wife came across a manuscript that he had written when he was 16 years old. She shared it. He shared it with her, and he shared it with me. And when I read it, I thought, wow, what a story. Clayton, this is so great. You ought to have this published. And in his way, he just kind of smiled. He didn't say very much, anything else. He hadn't written a story for any kind of assignment. He just wrote it. So after the funeral, Jamie is on, that's my wife, who she was on her computer, and I thought, in my mind, I thought, she was looking for some kind of message he had left us or something he had said about why he took his life. But she was looking at photos and listening to his music. And then she said, Spike, I found it. His manuscript is on the computer. And immediately I just said, I'm going to publish it. It was instinctive, and it was something I knew I had to do. It was so, words can't describe the devastation when you lose a child. Fortunately, Jamie was with me when we found him, and I knew I had to do something. It wasn't something that was intellectual or some kind of cognitive processing, something, it just came, it was visceral. It just came from my body. I just know I need to do this for him. Now, I knew nothing at all about publishing, had no idea. You go to bookstores and you see books, you feel the paper, you see a cover. I learned later that they're called dust jackets, but I had to go through this whole process of educating myself and figuring out what I need to do to get his story published. But one of the things I knew right off the bat, I had to find an incredible illustrator, because I knew Clayton's story was extraordinary. I knew it was good. I knew it was powerful. I knew it would touch people. But to get people's attention, I knew I needed something more. And the only way, that could happen is with really almost a brilliant illustrator. And we had one illustrator at one point, but she was such a fine artist, but not quite an illustrator. So then I just started searching, on the internet, just going, day after day, just looking for illustrators, looking at their style, looking at their art, looking at the portfolio, and then I came across this man. His name is Rohan Daniel Eason. He lives in the UK. I love him. He's fabulous. I mean, he has been so committed to, we call it Team Clayton. He became one of Clayton's teams. And so anyway, here I am, nobody. Clayton is an unknown author. Here's this unpublished manuscript. And so I contact Rohan's agent, and we have a conversation, and then she got back. She said, Rohan is interested. He will be the illustrator. And so it kind of starts from there. We got a designer, but then the designer, we were asking, what do we need to do, in terms of the design? She says, well, the way I work is folks tell me what to do. I said, well, we don't know what to do. I mean, we just, could you help us? And so we had to find somebody else. So I said, Rohan, do you know of anybody who can design the book for us? And he said, Jim Dunn. He is, I've worked with him before. He's very good. And so Jim put the design together. And then I won't believe, but go in the terms of trying to find a printer and the right printer. And Jim was saying, like he wanted to see certain materials and he wanted samples. And then finally we're able to put it all together and found a printer. And then we were able to get it published. And it was so meaningful for us, so powerful for us. I'd always thought of it as a way for our family to begin some healing, and it has done that. But this process really of trying to reconfigure and bring our family back together as a family, because we're torn apart. The fabric of our family life was torn, our hearts were broken, and we're so very sad, and still are. And you have those moments, you hear a song, you see a movie, some remembrance, something, and Clayton, and he comes to mind, and he's there with us. And I have this book, and I can say, Clayton, the world is looking what you have done.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yes. I've given him his voice. See, he always loved writing and had a passion for it. And what he would do, even around the holidays, he would write something and he would read it to us, and we get around and we would marvel and say how wonderful it is and how good and excellent. And even he started doing slam poetry at the Mercury Cafe, and I was there for that. And he got a huge applause, and it was so wonderful. And so with the COVID, it took a while, but we finally got his book out there, and it has received a surprising positive reception that I did not anticipate. One of the things I read in terms of the marketing aspect, you have to get reviews. And then it's interesting that the reviews I started reading, they love the book. They love Rohan's illustrations. And essentially, every time I read something that they wrote, I got a whole different perspective about the power of Clayton's words.
Oh,
And it was fascinating. One person wrote at one point, that we had written a tribute for him. He said, for a young boy who could see so clearly and feel so deeply. It's been wonderful. And I have to tell you, Paula, you're having us on your show is such a gift and a blessing to us.
thank you.
It's another way of honoring my son.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing has been, yeah,
Your
it's
honor
trying to,
and love is just a beautiful gift, Spike. And this book is a beautiful gift. This book is going to open some eyes. It's going to help create more awareness and caring. I myself was so touched when I read the book because 8th grade in high school, the whole year, I didn't take my coat off. I was bullied and made fun of. I was very thin and shy. I was punched and knocked down by a couple girls in the school parking lot, and other students just stood and watched. I mean,
that is so awful.
that is out there. And this book that Clayton wrote is such a beautiful, powerful message. And you loving and honoring him and coming up with, I'm going to publish that for him. I mean, it is just beyond words, Spike. It is really a beautiful thing. And I'm just
Thank you.
honored to be a tool in helping you get that word out there.
Thank you so much, Paul. I didn't know the impact of his story, of the mass, how it would hit people when we were trying to find a printer. Now, keep in mind, we just had the manuscript, and we're going to him and talking to him, and at that time we had an artist, and we're thinking about pulling everything together and letting him print the book. And he read the manuscript, and he told me, he said, Spike, I cried. And it turns out he too was bullied when he was young, and it brought back to him that experience, and he was really and he was really touched by the story as well. And it's too unfortunate, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. I mean, there's so many kids all over. I don't know if they think it's some rite of passage. It's become somewhat sophisticated, more in terms of the pain and cruelty people can inflict by using social media. And what we were hoping, and in fact, and there was one reviewer, I think it was, let's see, it was Reader's Favorite. And she said that basically, how wonderful this book is, that it should be read in every school, across the country. Because I don't know, we get caught up in our lives, earning a living and everything else. And kids go to school and their activities, and sometimes parents go through the motion, and they may not see the pain or see the clues. They're not spoken, they're not articulated. Kids who are being bullied may not share that with their parents. But this book gives parents and teachers an opportunity to open up some very painful and difficult discussions with their kids, and they will be able to have access to the world and hopefully share those times with them that tend to make childhood and adolescence, even adulthood, such a nightmare for so many people. But I wanted to say, that although, someone, a teacher said, how she liked the book, it essentially you use a fairy tale, it's a trope, essentially the a bargain with the devil trope, and that's, very, very good, because one of the things she was saying that with that trope, essentially, given the ages of the kids, I read somewhere the bullying happens a lot between the ages of not the ages, the grades of 7 to 9. That essentially the question is, what are you willing to give up to obtain something? What vanities do you have that you will give away for some kind of gift? And then also, what costs are you willing to pay? So it asks kids, kids who want to be valued, kids who want to be accepted, kids who want to belong, and what we're hoping the kids get out of this, the story itself. And maybe you ought to mention that, just the storyline or the plot real quick. But to get out of that, to accept who you are, to affirm who you are, to believe in your strengths, that we all have an inner beauty. And we need to look for that and search for that. And sometimes, and what the Mass talks about, that in effect that people will judge us and discriminate against us and even hate us because of maybe the way we look. Maybe it has something to do with body image. Maybe somebody's is fat. Maybe in the Mass, the protagonist is disfigured. Maybe it's about religion. Maybe it's about whether you're a gay, maybe because of race. It could be all kinds of things. So in essence, although the Mass talks about a disabled, disfigured, disformed, ugly child, we're really talking about somebody who is different. And somehow individuals feel that they have permission or license to abuse and judge and treat in a cruel manner. And Clayton knew they're not just individuals. And part of his story, he had the whole community that would come out to his home and throw trash at it and threaten to burn it down. And so he did have that understanding. It's not on just a one-on-one kind of level. Sometimes you have the whole community of people. Maybe it's in a school. Maybe it's in the workplace. Maybe it's on the street. It could be any and everywhere. And it's like, but why? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to be cruel? Why can't you be kind? And Mill, who is our protagonist, and although the book is not strictly about bullying, it lays the groundwork to explore some deeper questions about relationships and commitment and love and beauty. I mean, do you accept someone or embrace someone just because of physical beauty? Or do you see their soul? Do you see their heart? Do you see their intrinsic worth just because they are? And is it all about, some kind of society says that these are the things that are lovely and beautiful to us, and this is what we're supposed to value? This is supposed to what we hold in awe? And is it really about the heart? And Clayton asked those questions because there's a point where, and I'm not sure how much of the story I'm supposed to say.
Oh, this is wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, so
Beautiful.
essentially, Mill, a deformed boy who's abandoned to the forest, when he's old enough to take care of himself, he comes across this thing in the earth, and he sees that it's he thinks it's some kind of a dish or cup or something like that. Turns out to be a mask, and the mask makes him a deal, says, I will give you beauty if you perform a service for me. And he won't tell Mill what service. Mill is scared, he's frightened, he thinks this thing is evil, it's sinister, but he's been alone all his life pretty much. And he only had one friend who basically turned away from him after someone spat on him and essentially, chastised her for befriending Mill. So he's been alone. And we have an innate desire to be loved and to be part of something. And so here he has, this opportunity to get all the things in life he wanted. He never talks about becoming beautiful. What he talks about, what Mill thinks about, well, I could get married, I could get a job, maybe I could get my own place. But he didn't think about this thing, I'm going to be beautiful and everybody's going to follow me around, everybody's going to admire me, nothing along those lines. And at some point, when it's time for 3 years pass, and he becomes transformed and he's beautiful, and the mass basically fulfills the promise. And 3 years later, he hears a voice at night, and the voice tells him, come downstairs, it's time. And the Mill wants something from him, and it's horrific. And Mill says, I won't give up my soul, for this beauty. And he knew that, and the mass had told him that if you do that, you're going to be returned to being ugly again. You're going to lose everything you had. And so he goes up to his wife who's sleeping, and he hobbles up there, and he's again ugly and deformed. But he hopes in his heart that she will still love him for who he is. When he picked her in the village, she wasn't the most attractive woman, but he picked her not for her beauty. They had these interests together. She loved art, he loved art, and he said he'd never judge her, and he was hoping that she wouldn't judge him. And he went there and he sat on the bed and he sat down with her. And I don't remember the exact line. He basically say, honey, wake up, it's me, Mill.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, it's just such a fantastic book, Spike. And Spike, I would like you to tell us about the website you created, cjsparrowpublication.com. Share a bit about that with everyone.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Oh, well, cjsparrowpublication.com. Well, first, in part of this whole, I would say, odyssey, trying to get Clayton's book published, I had to put together a publishing company. And so I started thinking about a name. What can I call it? And so I use CJ Sparrow, because CJ starts for Captain Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack Sparrow, that was one of the characters that Clayton loved most in the Pirates of the Caribbean. And around Halloween, kids would come to the door and he would use an accent and he would be dressed up as a pirate and all of that.
Oh.
But on cjsparrowpublication.com, we develop a number of questions. I can't remember how many, I think about 14 or 15 that teachers and parents can use in the classroom that will help facilitate discussions. And so, when we were developing the book, it was just kind of hit and miss and putting things together and bit by bit. And someone said at the end, Spike, we need to put questions together, so teachers can use those in the classroom. And so let me tell you, Paul, in one instance, when I was using one marketing group and sent out emails to teachers and librarians and everything else, one high school teacher contacted me and essentially says, I'm going to use the mask in my high school class, a literacy class, and we're going to talk about myths and heroes, the hero's journey. And then I had other teachers said, they loved the way it ended, and someone characterized it, one of the reviews, as a superb open ending, and to use that to have discussions. So I hope that this book can change people's hearts.
Yes.
I'm hoping that it's one thing that Rabbi Kushner, I contacted him to see if I could use a quote he used, being kind not only changes you, it changes the world. And we're hoping that, as I said, that through this book, that kids who have been bullied, kids who have been harmed, kids who have been ostracized, that they find a way to discuss with people who love them, who care about them, to discuss their pain and discuss, the whole awful experience, so that they can begin to heal.
Yes.
And that's what we're hoping, that people's behaviors change, people have an opportunity to heal, people will be more kind, to one another. People will reach out and not judge somebody on the basis of appearance, but or a difference, but to try to see the heart, to try to see the intrinsic worth of the person. I mean, just think how life would be if we walked around and we had just in the back in our minds that just everybody has worth, everybody has value, everyone should be affirmed, everyone should be loved, and take that in your interactions with everyone you meet. And I was thinking, maybe your book, Clayton, will do that for them.
Yes, it's such a gift. Oh my gosh. Spike, we have about 1 minute left. I mean, I can't.
Did I talk that much?
No, what such a powerful message you have given. What last message would you like to give us before we say goodbye? This has been so
okay.
beautiful.
I don't know if I can remember this exactly. Essentially, Rohan used it as a quote, a dedication that he used on Instagram when he read the Instagram. But I said, there's something along the mask is dedicated to a beautiful sun and a loving human being, and incredible, amazing intelligence and incredible and grand sensitivity. He challenges us to ask meaningful questions about love, beauty, integrity, kindness, and commitment. He asks that we be better than we are.
Oh, Spike, thank you so much. Thank you for these beautiful words.
Thank
you.
You.
Caring.
Paula, being with you is a gift and a blessing. It brings tears.
Thank you.
To my eyes, so wonderful and gracious of you to allow me to honor my son in this way. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm honored to do it. The mask is, it's beautiful message and caring and love and a beautiful honor of Clayton. Thank you so much. So grateful to have had this time with you. Spike, love, hugs, and blessings.
Love, hugs, and blessings.
Everybody out there, love, hugs, and blessings. And thank you for joining us today. So grateful.